Welcome to Potty Mouths. This is Stephanie.
This is the man grounded, known as Bert.
This is Brad.
For those of you listening, Bert is grounded because he taps his pen during pods. Then I have to try and edit that shit out. And it's annoying, so until he can control his tics, he's grounded from having pens during the pod.
One curse word.
Absolutely not. Fuck, fuck, fuckity, fuck, fuck.
7 cuss words.
I don't know how this topic came about. All I can say is, for some random reason, I thought of a story that I was told at one of Brad's bonfires last summer. And I guess maybe because we got some decent fucking weather finally today, I was all in a summer mood, and last year I was told some interesting facts. Do you remember who told us it? Was it Cuddly?
About the dude?
About the dude.
It's probably me, because he was on the Typo Negative cover.
Maybe it was you.
That's how I knew, because I was looking at the guy to find out more information about him.
Maybe it was you, but... So, apparently, Rasputin's penis is currently being kept well preserved in a fucking jar.
This is true.
And to confirm, I had to Google this shit, and... Well, there are plenty of photos in case you guys are like, man, this is horseshit. Google it. You can see what Rasputin's penis looked like.
Apparently it was the biggest thing of its kind back in the day.
I mean, it's a log.
It's a log.
Bert, have you Googled these images yet?
Nope.
So, I started thinking about that, and then... Because my mind's fucked up. I was like, I wonder what other dicks are in jars. So, my Googling ended up to an entire podcast based on what? Extreme hoarding? Preserved body parts of famous people?
So there's more.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I wouldn't be doing a whole podcast on Rasputin's penis. There are a lot of weird shit in jars, man. Not just penises, though, although Rasputin's isn't the only one.
Interesting.
We'll get to that. So, just a little side conversation that we had earlier. Does anybody here hoard or used to hoard any certain body parts?
No comment.
Come on, Brad. Tell them.
I used to collect my toenails and fingernails.
I've never heard of this.
Well, it didn't start out intentional. I had this little can. You know, you clip them, you usually throw them on your nightstand or something. I just started throwing them in this can. Next thing I know, there's probably like 100 fucking toenails in there. It's covered the bottom of this can. I'm like, well, I started playing these theories in my head to keep collecting them because, you know, I've got that hoarder collecting gene going on. And it fucking warped over into fingernails and toenails.
Brad, I just like to tell you, I believe you're somewhat normal compared to some of the people I'm reading on the internet right now. So, it doesn't give me any date or anything on this, but this story fits nicely into our hoarding discussion. FBI agents make an astonishing discovery while executing search warrant at residence of a Houston mortician who has 3,170 embalmed human penises.
That's a lot of dicks.
See, I really want to name this episode Dicks in Jars, but I know if we try and promote it, they'll be like, we can't promote the word dick.
How about you do Richard in jars?
Richard
Richard.
in Jars. I don't know if anybody's on that same wavelength with us right now.
So, the Federal Bureau of Investigation suspected 54-year-old David Murray, an employee of the Harris County Morgue, of being implicated in an organ trafficking network. Investigating several reports of missing organs and body parts, dozens of agents raided his residence, hoping to find evidence of the involvement in the crimes. What they found on site was a lot more disturbing than what they had expected. It took the FBI more than 7 hours to gather all the organs and other pieces of evidence that were found on the site. Wow. A total of 53 criminal charges have already been filed against Mr. Murray, and hundreds more could be filed over the next few days. David Murray will remain in custody for the moment at a psychiatric evaluation and has been ordered to determine if he is fit to stand trial.
Wow.
370 dongs.
What wrestler does he look like? Doesn't he not look like a wrestler?
He does, but I couldn't...
It's somebody from like the Hulk Hogan era.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. Oh my God.
Maybe like...
I mean...
Alright, look, I'm saying right now, when I die, don't you ever take my body to anybody that looks like that.
Hey, if somebody wants to put my dong in a jar, go for it.
I am not an organ donor.
Really?
So they better not take my dong.
Hey, they can take whatever they want from me.
Yeah, that guy, I can be walking through Walmart and I'm looking at him and like, that guy's got 3,000 dicks in a jar.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He look like it.
Brings a whole new, light to when I tell people to, suck a bag of dicks. Now I literally can picture this guy in his fucking basement, bag dicks. How much did he spend in Ziploc bags? I'm assuming it was in bags and not in jars. Glass is a little more expensive.
Yeah, you can get a dozen mason jars for about $15.
That story's from 2014. He was nicknamed the Penis Collector.
It's a Marvel villain.
Oh my God. Oh, well, I don't... there's something... I'd love to find the fucking psychiatric report on that guy.
That would be cool.
Is that shit No, it's medical records. It's not public. Although, if somebody wrote a book about the penis collector, I would buy. I would stand in line to buy and get that signed.
Really?
Yeah.
Even from that guy?
I mean, if he wrote his own book, that'd be even better. Because then we'd be getting some deep-seated dirty details.
And his rationale behind it all.
Yeah, you just started a collection, and at a certain point, it just became a habit.
It did.
What started is you chopped off one dick, and then it put it in a bag, and it was like, oh, it looks
just
nice.
On accident.
And then there's a fucking corner of a room full of bags of dicks.
Am I more disturbed by the idea that he collected dicks, or the fact that he didn't kill people to collect fresh dicks?
Here's the thing, though.
Good point.
Maybe this was a good thing. Maybe because of his job and because it took him so long to get caught, him having access to dicks probably stopped him from going out and seeking fresh dicks.
Exactly.
Jeffrey Dahmer,
Yeah.
Probably was a good idea as a mortician.
I'm curious.
Kind of like a Dexter situation where his dad took him aside and be like, son, we can't have you chopping off people's dicks, but I found you a job to where you can do it and no one will know and you won't hurt anybody.
But don't get greedy.
But don't get greedy, because the FBI is very anti-dick snatching.
3,000 dicks later.
Got greedy.
Bet Scooby-Doo and the gang's one caught him.
Yeah.
I would have got away with it too, well, you damn pesky kids.
He was wearing a Rasputin mask.
Oh my God. Oh my God, that's great. Oh Lord. Just for information, we're mostly going to talk about some famous people. And it's not all dicks.
No, bummer.
I'm sorry. Now, we're going to end with dicks, but it's not all dicks.
So we start with dicks, there'll be a little bit in the middle, and we're going to end with some dicks.
Yeah, there's some more body parts in the middle. And
it's like a dick sandwich, you know?
Yeah. We got to have
Or
some,
is it? Dicks would only, if it was a dick sandwich, dicks would be in the middle.
It's like
you
a
don't
dick,
call it a bread sandwich, right?
It's like
True.
a dick taquito.
No. That doesn't work either.
Yeah. Because, the dick is the tortilla. And all this other information is just stuffed within the topic of dicks and jars. It's like a dick taquito.
I would have to disagree.
So, anyway.
And that would be a dick of me.
I did not know this, but others may. Albert Einstein's brain
In a jar.
was removed. Well, in a jar at first, but then sliced thinly for examination. So the most famous scientist of all times died in 1955. Hours after his death, his brain was removed from his body so that it could be studied. Einstein was a renowned genius, and scientists wanted to know the difference between his brilliant brain and the brains of ordinary people. The brain disappeared after the studies were made, only to be found again in 1978 in the possession of the doctor who removed it. I mean, he took it out.
What was
So he
he
gets to
doing?
lay claim?
Yeah.
I guess that's how that works.
What was he doing with it when he took off?
Dr. Thomas Stoltz Harvey conducting experiments on it. Because initially the experiments turned up no difference between regular people's brains and Einstein's brain. So he wanted to inspect it further. But in 2010, the brain was donated to the National Museum of Health and Medicine in the United States. Besides the brain, Einstein's eyes were also removed from his body and were kept in a safety deposit box in New York City.
Is there any reason why they kept the eyes?
The eyes thing is a little bit more personal. So it says, the bodies of saints were often raided for relics as soon as they died. Einstein's secular saint of the modern day was no exception, as well as taking the brain of Einstein's corpse, because it wasn't just missing, that shit went stolen. The doctor who dissected him also took his eyeballs. While his brain may have been a legitimate object of study, it was hard to see what Einstein's eyes could teach us. The eyes were passed to another of Einstein's doctors, and they remain in the possession today. Rumor has it that they are locked in a safety deposit box in New York. When asked why he has kept the eyes, the owner said that it was to keep Einstein with him.
Creepy.
Like memories aren't enough. Dude's just got his eyeballs locked up in a safety deposit box.
So I remember late 90s, early 2000s, there was an inmate that was put to death. Can't remember. They didn't give names or anything. But he donated his body to science. Because that's the thing a lot of people do. They donate their bodies to science. We've talked about this on pods and prior.
Yes.
This gentleman donated his body to science. And within an hour after being killed, he had a layer, I think it was like a millimeter or less of his body removed at a time with a laser. So they could photograph it.
Oh, wow.
So now if you ever go into see in a picture of anatomy, like how a body's put together, and it's like the cutaway of the body, it's that inmate from where they took those pictures, from where they sliced them up.
They can also be filled with plastic and their bodies put on display.
Yeah, that was that tour came through Cincinnati once.
Yeah, I went to that. That was weird.
Yep. Weird stuff.
And if your school's rich enough, you got a real skeleton hanging in your anatomy and physiology class. That was also probably from somebody that donated their body to science.
My dad used to own a real skeleton. Got it at the flea market. I think it sold for big bucks, too.
Well, I mean, unless your side work is, serial killer.
Hey, if your dad comes across any Dixon jars,
he'd probably keep them for himself.
If he'll come off of it, we'd like to buy it for our Potty Mouths group.
No, we won't.
Why?
Because we don't want no dick in a jar.
I'm sorry. What better way to get people to pay attention to you?
I'm not supposed to argue with you, so I'm not
Oh my god. What better way to get people to communicate with you? We could get sponsored by somebody.
I'm not supposed to argue with you, so.
Dick in a jar.
Now we can write a cool theme song. I'm down with that.
Yeah. Well, they already got dick in a box.
Let's just change the lyrics a little bit with the same beat.
I said we go heavy with it, though. Dick in a jar.
Besides brains and eyeballs, we also have Buddha's tooth.
Buddha's tooth.
Yeah, Buddhism is a religion that was founded in the 16th century BC in India.
Buddha's the man.
This spiritual leader was loved by his followers. Many mourned his death. Buddha's body was cremated, but before it was set on fire, his followers managed to take out one of his canine teeth. This dude had some serious canines, too. The pictures are pretty.
The canine's actually huge, so I think it's the longest tooth.
Yeah, but this is huge and fat. This dude had some chompers. This sacred item was kept in, probably the fanciest room I've ever seen in my life. This tooth lives better than all three of us put together. Just saying.
Yeah, to live with Odin. So, yeah.
The war between Indian state caused the tooth to be relocated several times, ending up in Sri Lanka for its final residence in this big-ass, fancy-ass building. And there's guards and stuff. And
it's got a whole room.
A whole room for a tooth. And we're over here just trying to get 400 more square footage on a house.
George Washington was a great man. His teeth were made of wood.
Did anybody keep his wooden teeth?
No, I think they rotted or something. I don't remember. They were made of wood. Not wood. Wood. Mm-hmm. Awesome Billy Madison reference right there. Not Billy Madison. Shoot. Big Daddy.
Big Daddy.
Big Daddy reference. Before Adam Sandler went to crap.
Yeah. He's not funny anymore.
No, absolutely not. We should keep his tooth in a really fancy room and give it to him.
Benito Mussolini's brain. So there's another brain.
An evil brain.
An evil brain. The notorious dictator.
Dictator.
Mussolini, known as Il Duce, which I'm sorry,
Douche.
gives me hard Boondock Saints vibes, was executed in 1945 by a firing squad of Italian communists. After his death, an autopsy was carried out at the Institute of Legal Medicine in Milan. The government of the United States asked for a piece of his brain for studies, but it is more believable that they just wanted a trophy for their triumph over the Nazi forces. The U.S. authorities had a theory that Mussolini suffered from syphilis, and that would have caused his insanity, because it's happened before. That's one of their theories about Jack the Ripper. Heavy in prostitutes, gets syphilis, goes crazy, kills prostitutes. However, the Americans never found syphilis in the dictator's body, and 21 years later, they returned the brain sample to Il Duce's widow. In 2007, pieces of the brain appeared on eBay, where they reached a price of $22,000.
Now, did that come with like a certificate of authentication?
For $22,000,
Better.
I'm sure it did. Galileo Galilei's middle finger. There's a joke in here about why the middle finger, but I don't think that was initially why the middle fingers. Renaissance mathematician and astronomer, was a real scientific revolutionary in the 17th century and made several important discoveries during his career. Galileo was condemned by the Catholic Church as a heretic due to his views of the world. After his death in 1642, the scientist was buried in a small room in the Basilica di Santa Croce in Florence, Italy. Some 95 years later, in 1737, his body was relocated to the main room in the basilica, where a monument was erected in his honor. Erected. It's just all dick jokes today. During the move, a tooth and 3 of his fingers were removed from the remains of his body, and the middle finger on his right hand traveled around the world for several centuries, arriving at its final resting place, the Florence History of Science Museum. The preservation of the middle finger has given Galileo the ability to eternally flip off the church, which only formally apologized for its mistake regarding heliocentricity in 1992. The joke is he just flips off the middle finger just flips off the church.
They shouldn't have killed the guy. So.
Well, I mean, they shouldn't have condemned him, and they should have apologized before 1992 about heliocentricity. But then now again, like, with flat earthers, does the planets revolve around the sun? I don't know anymore. We live in weird times.
So you're saying about flat earthers that Galileo, right, is their Satan?
Yeah, I would say so. A revolutionary man of science, an astronomer?
But what
Is there even space? We have to ask these questions.
Yes, we'll have to ask. So please, let us know at Potty Mouse.
Abraham Lincoln's skull pieces. The 16th President of the United States was shot by John Wilkes Booth, which, by the way, they kept some of his body parts somewhere. I just don't remember which ones. I think they kept his spine, oddly enough.
He had one?
I guess. Pookie Bitch, would you confirm John Wilkes Booth's spine, please?
Yep.
On the 14th of April, 1865, while attending the play at Ford's Theater, the doctors did their best to save his life, but pulling the bullet out of the president's head caused a blood clot, and fragments of his skull were dislodged. Those fragments were not buried with Abraham Lincoln, but they were preserved and can be seen on display in the National Museum of Health and Medicine, together with the bullet that killed the president.
So what I can tell, they kept his 3rd, 4th, and 5th cervical vertebrae, along with a piece of the spinal cord.
Why? I mean, I guess chemical testing.
So apparently it's all located in Baltimore, because that's where his body is buried. It doesn't really give any reasoning going behind it. It just says they have it.
I remember reading something about it, but like I kind of get keeping brains. And I mean, I guess DNA. What? Like they know he did it. He wasn't crazy.
Well, they didn't know if it was his body or not. So they actually used a vertebrae for DNA testing and compared it to his brother to confirm that he was John Wilkes Booth.
That makes a little bit more sense. But, so some more presidents. So I guess his teeth were no good, so they actually kept George Washington's hair.
Because they were made of wood.
The father of the American nation, George Washington's death, was mourned by everyone in the United States. However, it was the aunt of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, boy, are cocky as shit back then, who asked for a lock of his hair in remembrance of the great man. In 1850, Longfellow had the lock of hair enclosed in a gold locket, which was later given to the Marine Historical Society per his Aunt Eliza Wadsworth's wishes. This next one, it got me. Thomas Edison's last breath. A test tube supposedly containing American inventor's last breath is on display at the Henry Ford Museum. Henry Ford and Edison were very close friends. In fact, in the last few years of Edison's life, Ford bought a home next door to his winter estate in Florida, so the two could run amok and race in wheelchairs. When Ford died in 1947, a test tube containing Edison's last breath was found amongst his stuff. Allegedly, Ford had asked Edison's son, Charles, to bottle an exhaled breath from Edison while he lay dying.
This sounds like, hey, this guy died, he's famous, and here's other famous guy. Let's see if we can scam some people and make some money.
Either that or this was the weirdest bromance to have ever existed in the history of mankind.
I mean, what about Brad Pitt's old woman, Angelina Jolie? Remember she was Billy Bob Thornton? They were each other's blood, a vial.
Still not as weird as getting some dead guy's last breath in a vial.
I still say it's a scam.
It could be. It's only on display. Who's like, we gotta go there, man. They got Thomas Edison's last breath. I'm sure there are other things in the...
Thomas Edison fans, yo. Don't discount them.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, let's look at this. Alright, we're going to plan a trip this summer. We either go to see the breath of Thomas Edison or Rasputin's penis.
I mean, we're going with Rasputin's
I
penis.
mean, right?
Gonna go see the dong.
They should have chopped off his dick. And maybe the nipples.
Maybe he's got them.
I mean, if it is the weirdest bromance in history, for all we know, he dug him up and dude's sitting, in a corner room somewhere until Ford kicked it.
Or did somebody think Ford wasn't going to be famous enough and captured his last breath and claimed as Thomas Edison's? The world may never know. The world may never know.
Or at some point that vial got hot and it evaporated and it's just a fucking tube. And the picture of the tube has got a cork in it. We're not talking no scientific fucking shit.
Stephanie, not to break your heart, but it's just a tube.
That's what I'm saying. It's just a fucking vial with a cork in it.
I mean, look at my hand.
They didn't...
I have the last dinosaur's breath in my hand right now. Who can dispute this?
I'm just saying, if you're gonna like seal it with wax or something, if you're gonna pass this off as some really famous dude's last breath, don't just get a vial and stick a cork in it. At least make it look like you tried to preserve that breath.
Hey, cork is a good closer. That's why they use it on fancy champagnes and stuff.
I don't know. It doesn't seem legit to me. So,
alright, so what's better than breath in a test tube?
Blackbeard's skull.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So in the early 1700s, a Blackbeard, real name Edward Teach.
And then he used to be a banker or some crap.
I don't know, but Edward Teach is a really cool name.
That's what we'll name our next cat or dog. Edward Teach.
So his pirate crew plundered ships and seaports in the Atlantic coast from Georgia to Virginia. In 1718, frustrated merchants reached out to the governor of Virginia for help. He dispatched the British naval force to Ocracoke Island off North Carolina, rumored to be Blackbeard's hideout. Sure enough, the Navy found the pirate ship moored offshore. The British hid below decks to lure the pirates onto the ship and then attacked. Blackbeard, swinging a heavy cutlass, proved to be a fierce fighter. After he fell dead, the Navy crew examined his body and found 5 pistol wounds and 20 lacerations. So dude got shot 5 times and cut up 20 before he finally went down, so pretty tough dude. They then cut off his head and hung it from their... I need to learn more about boats. Hung it from their bowsprit. According to legend, when they tossed the headless corpse overboard, it swam around the ship 5 times before sinking.
Fuck yeah.
I mean, that's gotta be rumor, but
I believe
that's
it.
badass rumor. Back in Virginia, Blackbeard's head was hung from the post of Tyndall's Point on the Rappahannock River
Okay.
as a warning to other pirates. It's Rappahannock.
Okay. I'll go with it.
According to legend, the skull was later taken down and used to make a silver-mounted drinking cup. If you're going to be badass, you drink out of somebody's skull. That's all there is to it.
Absolutely.
I think we should probably get us some skull cups.
Well, remember in Zorro, with Antonio Banderas, when his brother gets killed?
Oh, yeah, and
drinks
it's his brother's head soup, and he drinks it like a badass. I was like, dude! Oh, the fucking savagery. It was great. That was a great scene. I'm glad you brought that up.
It's one of my favorite movies. Not just because Catherine Zeta-Jones or anything.
Oh, my God. The cup even had a nickname, the Infant.
That's disturbing.
I don't get that.
That's disturbing.
The gruesome mug eventually wound up in Ocracoke Tavern, and that they had been drinking in it from the 1930s. Later, there were stories that a college fraternity acquired the cup and used it as their initiation rites, though no one is certain which college that was. I can see that. A bunch of frat boys with Blackbeard's skull drinking from it from initiation. The skull, believed to be Blackbeard's, later fell into the hands of the New England author Edward Rowe Snow, an expert on maritime lore. Snow often gave talks to Boy Scouts and such, and he usually brought along a collection of antique daggers and flintlocks allegedly once used by pirates. The stockpile typically included the skull, and Snow would allow scouts to hold it and pass it around. That's a great trip for the Boy Scouts. After Snow's death, his widow passed his collection, including the skull, to the Peabody Essex Museum in Salem, Massachusetts. The museum curator keeps the skull in a storage room. She claims no one knows for sure if it once sat on Blackbeard's shoulders. Occasionally it is loaned to the North Carolina Museum of History.
Blackbeard's skull is pretty cool.
It got around, man. Listen, if something happens and we end up reverting back to our baser selves, and it is just savage out there, I'm drinking out of the heads of my enemies.
Baser selves.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mountain Dew can armor and a skull and cane.
Thinking Mad Max scenario.
You gonna take over Newport too and hold up at the Walgreens?
Oh, yeah, we heard that before, that Walgreens is a great place to go.
You spread the bodies out in the field so they'll grow new bodies. That's pretty great.
Inside joke, listeners. Inside joke. Only a few people listening to this episode will get that, but when they do, it'll be beautiful.
And you switch out the leader of that universe with Stephanie and her universe. She'll also have a jar with a head in it. She consumes their head soup. Is that what you called it?
I called it head soup.
Head soup? I'm not supposed to argue?
What? Oh, my God. Don't be so bitter. Here we go, getting some more interesting shit. Another brain belonging to John Wayne Gacy.
Super freak.
So, in the early hours of December 22nd, 1978, John Wayne Gacy sat in a police station confessing that he'd killed dozens of boys and young men. There was really nothing else he could do in the crawl space of his home in Chicago's suburban area. Police had unearthed a ghastly trove of decaying corpses. Whoever wrote this, that is a beautiful sentence. Unearthed a ghastly trove of decaying corpses. I like it. The body count eventually reached 33. During Gacy's 1980 trial, arguments focused on his mental state. Psychiatrists devoted hundreds of hours to probing his mind. Probes. One even filled him up with scotch to see if alcohol transformed him into a fiend. I know some dudes that liquor actually does that too. In the end, jurors convicted Gacy, and the judge handed down the death sentence. He spent nearly 14 years on death row before his 1994 execution by lethal injection. While Gacy awaited his date with the needle, psychiatrist Ellen Morrison got the notion that his brain should be studied for clues as to why serial killers do what they do. He agreed. She showed up to his autopsy with a notarized letter from Gacy's sister, his closest relative, instructing doctors to entrust her with his gray matter. Today, Gacy's brain sits in the basement of the Morrison family home. The doctor cut it into slices, like you do, and deposited each piece into a Ziploc bag. See? Told you. Ziploc bags. Along with a preservative. From time to time, other researchers have asked to examine the head meat, and Morrison has obliged these requests. As yet, however, science has turned up no deficits that might explain Gacy's freakish behavior. There's actually nothing abnormal, Morrison told the Chicago Tribune. No tumor, no growth, no signs of any injuries. From time to time, non-professionals have asked to see the brain too, and on at least one occasion, Morrison said yes. Of course, the request came from deep-thinking genius Khloe Kardashian.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It seems Khloe has always been fascinated with serial killers. In 2010, a media producer arranged for her to visit Morrison's home for a peek at his brain, essentially. Yeah, just the slices of his brain. With cameras rolling, Khloe raised her dainty fingers to show she was holding a baggie of brains. And with an air of nonchalance, she announced, "It looks like a hamburger patty."
That's just weird.
Mm-hmm. I don't give a shit about the Kardashians, but I will probably always remember that one of them wanted to look at John Wayne Gacy's brain. That actually makes her a little bit more interesting to me. Because serial killers are interesting as hell.
They're interesting, but I don't know if I'm going to be looking at their brain.
You bought that, Brad, you bought that movie Gacy, right? I could have swore I watched it with you a long-ass time ago.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Knowing the people we know is probably just on at a party in the background.
Yeah.
Probably a Halloween party. I'm going to give you guys what you want.
Dicks.
Napoleon.
Oh.
Napoleon is the other penis.
He's hung like a Chinese man.
It gets good. Supposedly, a resentful doctor removed Napoleon's penis during his autopsy in 1821. The emperor's private member was not seen again until 1916, when it showed up in London at the Vignali collection of Napoleonic souvenirs gathered from the island where he died and was exiled in St. Helena. Afterward, it traveled around for a while until the mid-1970s when an American urologist, Dr. John Kingsley Latimer, bought it for $3,000. Napoleon's penis remains in the United States to this day. We gotta go find Napoleon's dick, that's all I'm saying. While the Napoleon complex, which associates short stature with a drive for power, may be based on a historical misunderstanding, Napoleon being of an average height at the time, there may still be a Freudian explanation for his urge to conquer Europe. After his death, an autopsy was performed on the emperor to establish why he died. Napoleon's heart and stomach were officially removed, but the servants of the doctor who performed the examination recorded privately that various other unspecified parts were taken. For decades, rumors have existed that one of these parts was the emperor's penis. The penis has been auctioned several times and displayed. The thing now known as Napoleon seems to be a genuine body part of the great conqueror, but no one quite agrees with whether or not it's a penis. They don't know for sure if it's his penis.
It could be his thumb.
The preserved member, about an inch long, has been described variously as a tendon, a piece of leather, a grape, and a shriveled seahorse.
I wonder who is a mad little man.
Napoleon was really a woman.
Yeah.
It's a clitoris.
Yeah, it's just a giant clit. Shit.
So yeah, you know those dudes in those big ass trucks? You know, they're jacked up way too high. They have way too many fucking lights on them. Mm-hmm. And they all have those ultra fucking bright lights that blind you from any angle. And you think to yourself, God, that dude must have a little dick. There's actually science behind it now. Or maybe not a little dick, maybe a tendon, a grape, or a shriveled seahorse.
It's like a our little buddy that used to get naked at parties. They say it looked like a grape in a bird's nest.
Oh, man. So, that creme de la creme of the penis. Rasputin's penis. So, I did some digging. There's a lot of rumors and not much fact. So, Rasputin's penis had a rather colorful life while still attached to its owner. Since his death, it has continued to be an object of fascination. Rasputin had a reputation for using his penis as a method of spreading his holy message amongst women. He became a hated figure among the common people and nobles alike. It was the nobles who finally murdered Rasputin, and it is claimed to have castrated the body.
So I have a problem with that sentence. They say finally murder like it needed to happen instead of eventually murdered.
Maybe they mean finally as in it took so long to kill him?
Yeah, but it sounds like they were advocates for it. So
I don't know, I got my own theories about this.
Alright.
The organ of Russian's greatest Casanova can now be seen at the Erotica Museum in St. Petersburg, which purchased it from descendants of a maid who in turn claimed to have rescued it from the scene of Rasputin's murder. So dude's getting murdered, she rushes in to save the dick. What a hero!
He loved to party with the ladies.
Now, listen, I gotta say, because my brain doesn't work properly, I actually had to look up some things about Rasputin and his, reputation with the ladies before this episode, because the most information I ever had about him was from the Disney movie Anastasia. Now, ever since finding out that his dick's in a jar, in the movie Anastasia, he's, still dead, and parts of him keep falling off. And now anytime I see that cartoon, I just picture, his dick falling down, falling off of his body, and him walking away, and it being uncovered by his robe. Just his dick just rolling away as it falls off of his body. And that will forever be in my head now, even though it's a Disney movie. So this story is ruining my love of Disney movies. Myths. So a lot of people say that he actually wasn't hot with the ladies. It can't be proven, but it can't be disproven. But here is some shit I found out. A governess for the royal family, horrified that Rasputin was allowed to visit the Tsar's daughters in their nursery while the girls were wearing their nightgowns, accused him of belonging to a cult, a group that split from the Russian Orthodox Church in the late 17th century. They had secret cells all over Russia and were rumored to whip themselves and engage in ecstatic rituals that sometimes turned into orgies. Rasputin's belief that salvation could only be found through sin and repentance had similarities to this cult's teachings, but there is no evidence that he was ever a member of the sect. His daughter, who published 3 memoirs about her father and became a circus performer and a riveter in American shipyards during World War II, claimed that Rasputin had, quote-unquote, looked into the cult, but rejected it. On this occasion, this is at a party, his customary bragging about his place in the imperial couple's affections culminated in him roaring about that old girl had slept with him. He's talking about the queen. When diners at another table asked if he was really Rasputin, he dropped his drawers and waved his famous feature at them, all the while distributing notes saying, "Love unselfishly." Maybe he was banging all these chicks, but honestly, the dude just, to me, sounded like a drunk who ranted and raved about banging chicks, and eventually all these royals were like, this dude's probably banging my wife, or he's gonna bang my wife, and he has a huge Johnson, and then so they just decided to knock him off. That's what I get from this.
I watched a biography on him once, and it was pretty boring, so I don't remember them talking about his penis at all.
Well, they kept it in a jar. How could they not bring it up in a documentary? Look it up real quick. Google it to know what we're talking about. I really do just feel like this dude had a big-ass mouth, and the royal family loved him. He would get 3 sheets to the fucking wind, because that's another thing he was known for, drinking in excess. He was even referred to as being dead drunk on several occasions. And he just started talking about banging chicks, and all these royals got jealous as shit, and he had this huge wiener, and they're like, we gotta take care of this guy.
Because Wikipedia doesn't talk about his penis either.
Just Google Rasputin's dick and go to images.
No, I don't need that history on my phone.
Dude, look, my history on my phone and my computer is destroyed because of this podcast. You can get your Google search a little dirty, too. It is. I had the weirdest shit in my Google search history. I should probably delete it more often.
It looks like an elephant trunk. That's disturbing. It looks weird.
Well, it's embalmed. It used to be attached to a dude, and now it's a dead dick in a jar. Anyway, like, I get that he was a womanizer and a drunk, but the guy thought that he, like, people rumored that he had mystical powers. Why would they take his dick and not his brain? I don't get it. Like, I kind of get, like, Napoleon's. They were like, little dick. No wonder he did what he did. But, like, I don't know. Rasputin's not the only dude to have a huge schlong. Is there any other body parts that I don't know about that you guys know about?
No, people keep their appendixes.
So my appendix was removed when I was 6. Luckily, my mom was not a creep and did not keep it. Now, I will say, like, I found, like, a bunch of people with their hair. I got both my boys' hair from their first haircuts, and I put it in their baby book.
Yeah, I don't think that's too weird.
I don't think that's too weird either. I have a biohazard bag in the oldest baby book. So when he was like 4, he went over to the neighbor's house and I told him to put his shoes on, and he didn't. And he went over there running around and like stubbed his toe, but when he did, they had an old deck that needed to be refinished. Mm-hmm. He got all these splinters up in his foot. And it was gruesome. It was nasty. He ran home bleeding and everything, and he could barely put his foot down. And I got most of the splinters out, but there was one I could not get out. I took him to the hospital. This fucking thing was like 3 inches long. And they had to shoot up his whole foot like 6 times with numbing so they could get it out. It was a crazy story. It taught him a lesson. Put your shoes on when your mom tells you to put your fucking shoes on. And I kept that giant splinter in a biohazard bag given to me by the hospital, and it's taped up in his baby book. And that's pretty weird. I once kept a t-shirt for a while that had blood all over it, and then I got grossed out about what could be in that blood, and I got rid of the t-shirt.
After you already would have been contaminated with whatever was in it.
Oh yeah, I had blood all over me that night. Because you come to, our friends' parties, somebody's getting stabbed. I'm so glad that now it's like, hey, what do you want to do for your birthday? I don't know, something easy. Let's go to a hole in a wall. I just really don't want to do. And then 10 years prior, it's like, let's do somebody gonna get stabbed.
They make you feel old, Brad?
A little bit.
We used to go to parties with people with flip cars and get stabbed, and now we're like, this bar's too crowded. We need to go somewhere quieter.
Those were special occasion parties, though.
I was the 4th of July party.
Yeah, that didn't happen all the time.
Y'all rowdy. But that shit come back and Bengals win the Super Bowl or something.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Reds win the World Series.
People be out there flipping their cars and stabbing themselves.
We thought this would never happen.
Selling their souls to Satan in the streets while on fire so that we can win too.
Well, Bengals got a new coach. We'll see what happens.
It won't happen.
I mean,
not until they replace the owner.
Exactly.
Till Mike Brown's out.
Yeah, because free agency just started and they're doing the same old shit.
Oh, yeah. Everybody else is doing massive trades and money. Bengals are like crickets in the friggin' winds, you don't hear nothing. Even the friggin' Browns are getting some folks.
Yeah, they're going to be good this year.
Hey, it's got to be better than 500, right? I mean...
Yeah.
I'm bored with football. I used to watch it, now I'm just like, whatever.
It's not exciting anymore. Not for me.
Not a whole lot is exciting. Like, there's too much other good shit on TV.
I watch the Bengals. That's about it. I don't really do basketball anymore.
Which is amazing, because basketball was your drug.
Yeah, the Warriors killed that for me. Fuck it.
I'm sorry.
Whatever. They killed it for a lot of people.
I don't think our prophecy is going to come true, being LA and Boston going to the championship. We're saying the Lakers even make it that far. It'll be amazing.
Yeah. It'll happen again eventually. Probably in the next couple of years. But yeah, not this year.
Dixon jars.
Well, my dick ain't in a jar. It's still attached.
I will make sure that it stays attached to you.
No, I don't believe you. You'll probably love me more after I'm dead and you have it in a jar for your pleasure.
Ew, no.
You'll probably shake up like a snow globe with it. I'll be like, oh, no!
Show it to my friends.
That's what I used to get. And I hated it.
I'll probably put games in there with it to where, like, if I shake in a certain direction, I can get the dick through a hoop.
No, you'll probably write stuff on it so when it comes up to the top, try again later, like the 8-ball, magic 8-ball.
But for me,
magic dick. You're horny later. Got wood.
I would probably do something funny with it. Dick in a jar is just a sad, dead dick in a jar. I would liven it up. But honestly, I will really, really, really try hard to make sure, because apparently, according to this information I found, dicks can just disappear from murder scenes. So, I will
collect some souvenirs.
If I am there at the time of your death, I will really make sure that when you get cremated, your dick goes up with you.
I do appreciate that. That means an awful lot to me.
I just want you to know how dedicated I am to making sure that you are ushered into the afterlife with your wiener. And I would like you to make sure that nothing weird happens to my body, and don't take me to sketching-looking morticians. They got a lazy eye, they're out. If they have horribly scarred features, they're out. If they don't have a social life, they're out.
We already talked about this. I'm going to turn your body into a diamond.
No, you're not.
That way your love will always be with me.
No, I'm going to have that put in my will that you're not allowed to do that for punishment by the fucking justice system. Your ass gets locked up. Well, anyway, since nobody has any fun shit to say.
No, I don't. I'm sorry. I thought penises would be exciting. Nope.
I was geared up about Dixon jars.
Do we need more topic ideas for the future? Or do you got some good ones?
I mean, there's always fillers. Why?
Just going to see if the audience would like to throw some out at us. You guys are awfully quiet. No flat earthers talking.
I got a notebook full of topic ideas, but if you all want to hear something, there's something that you want us to cover. If you know of more dicks and more jars, you can email us, pottymouths@gmail.com, or you can message us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. We have all three. You can find us. We are not hiding.
We are out there.
I am out there commenting on things, especially Instagram, which is my jam. I don't know why, I just have this, I love Instagram. If you want to listen to our other episodes that may or may not reference dicks and jars, you can listen to them on Podbean and the Podbean app, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, Google, iHeartRadio now.
Sounds darn good on iHeartRadio. I'm just going to put that out there.
Agreed. It definitely does. And again, you can email us, pottymouths@gmail.com. We'd also like to thank Purple Planet for our music, and we post on Mondays. This is Stephanie.
This is Bert.
This is Brad.
Good night, everybody.